A car which dates from before the time when seatbelts were mandatory and has been taken to auction already 3 times this week.
Well, somebody's walking up with a big smile on their face, and it's not just me.
And although Paul has thus far delivered a textbook profit performance, Catherine remains a model of composure.
My plan is to have no plan and just let it happen.
Yeah, I like
let it happen.
that. I like.
Except you don't see me in the shops going, what am I going to do? How am I going to do? Laidlaw. No, I'm so cool.
Catherine has transformed her £200 stake into £195.92. Whilst Paul, who began with the same sum, has almost doubled it with £392.34 to spend in Scotland today.
Do you know what? I could move here. Would you then run away if I moved up to Scotland? No!
Their journey began in Portrush, County Antrim, and explored Northern Ireland before crossing the sea towards Scotland. They take in a lot of the lowlands before arriving several hundred miles later in Aberdeen. But today we start shopping in Callander, and after a thorough exploration of central Scotland, conclude at an auction in Kinbuck. Perched on the edge of the Trossachs, sounds painful, the delightful town of Callander is known as the gateway to the Highlands. But will it be Catherine's portal to profit?
Good morning.
Good morning, how are we?
I'm good, thank you. You must be Mr. George. Your name is outside.
It is, that's why I can't run away.
This shop is so full that you have to look in every direction. Oh! Whoops.
Sorry.
Carry on. Just act naturally.
Black, I win. Red, Laidlaw wins. Here we go.
No further bets. It's 22 black.
Black. What did I say I was?
Naughty. Now, what does George reckon is a good bet?
Nice little country interest snuff box.
Oh, that's nice.
Always happy to
A
help.
little bit of treen there. And you've got a nice little riding interest. See, that's nice.
But how nice?
20, 15, 10, 8, 5, 2.
Give me £20, you can have that and there's a profit in it.
One to think about.
This is just the sort of thing that I was looking for. It's nicely turned with the applied horseshoes and the crop there on the tops. And I think it's just the sort of thing that would appeal. At £20 is not a lot of profit because I wouldn't have thought that would go past 30. I think that's probably about its limit. But it's a nice piece and it's a very good start.
Keep 'em coming.
Bit of Scottish jewellery. All marked.
It's an amethyst. Little scratch there. A little bit of a scratch across it. What's the price on that?
What do you think it should be?
Well, as soon as you have an intake of breath, I start to wobble and worry.
Oh, we
What
can
do I
take
think
that.
it should be? 15.
15. No, we're a bit too far away.
What are we then?
40.
I thought you were going to say 14.
14.
40? Oh, no.
We're not our boots out.
I feel a parcel coming on.
I'll keep looking as well because I don't like anyone going out
I
empty-handed.
do like it when you do the job for me, actually.
Oh, quite. But you can join in, Catherine.
That's quite sweet. Little Art Nouveau pendant. That's quite pretty. What's on that?
That's a bargain. That's 15 on it, but we can...
I love the but we can, and then you stop.
Yeah,
You know-
but
you
we
know-
can. It's leading you in. Sort a few things out and I'll give you a little groupie
All right.
deal.
A groupie deal.
Very rock and roll.
You a golfer?
No.
Curler, then.
I really like this. How much is this?
That's probably about your range.
£48, actually, which I'm fairly sure she'll consider a bit steep.
Can that be sort of dirt cheap?
What's dirt cheap?
Dirt cheap is like £15, £20. Because I probably will get a little groupie going
We'll
down
do a
there
group.
as
Let's
well.
say sort of group out and we'll
Should we
sort
put,
your
that, should we
price
put
out.
this down? We're getting a very
Yeah.
large group together. OK.
Gird your loins. Do they say that in curling?
I'm going to put this here with my ever-expanding...
It's a buffet of bargains.
It is, it is. It's a smorgasbord we have here.
Yeah, which, for the record, is the brush, the snuff box, the brooch and pendant.
Can we do more sort of 12 on that?
No.
15 then. Come on, that's 15. And then I've got a bit of a chance.
Do you 17 on that?
OK, 17 on that, that's fine.
Yeah.
40 is way, way too high for me. I think I'd probably quite like to put those two bits together in a little group. So what could they be, the two?
Do you 40 for the two?
35 on those. That would give me a little chance.
Do 35 on that, 25 and 17.
That's got to be more like 15, surely.
20 on that. You've never seen another one.
I think she has.
Come on, 15. Go on, George. Go on, George.
18.
Go on, George.
18.
Go on, George. It's so
18.
there. Go on, 15. Come on.
I'll tell you what, roulette, red or black.
Ah, that never works for me.
Makes a change from tossing a coin.
Right, red or black?
It's got to be black. Come on.
It worked before.
Yeah!
It's yours.
And the winner pays £67. So, with Catherine sweeping all of Callander before her, whither Paul? On the road to Dunfermline, that's where. The town in Fife that's full of reminders of its most famous son, the entrepreneur and philanthropist Andrew Carnegie. Paul's come to find out more about the Scot, who was once one of the richest men on earth.
Hello.
Mona.
Hi, Paul. Yes, that's right. This is the Carnegie Birthplace Museum.
Indeed.
Yes, Carnegie, the contradictory figure who made millions before giving away almost all of his vast fortune, came from this tiny Dunfermline dwelling.
When was he born?
On the 25th of November, 1835.
Humble beginnings,
It
clearly.
was very, yes.
What was his family background? What were the
His
parents
father
doing?
was a handloom weaver and he made the best quality damask linen
See?
in a workshop downstairs. It was humble. You know, they didn't have running water or toilets were outside, all that kind of
Yeah.
thing. But at the same time, the weavers were actually quite well off in the status of working people.
Young Andrew even received a rudimentary education and showed early promise in memorising the poetry of Robbie Burns. But the coming of steam power made his father's trade obsolete.
He was struggling to make a living, his father, and his mother had twin sisters in Pittsburgh already, and she was the driving force. She was quite a formidable lady, as they say. So she's the one that made them go to America. His father didn't really want to go.
In 1848, Carnegie began his working life in a Pittsburgh cotton mill before progressing to telegraph operator. The clever and hard-working young man was already impressing some important people.
He became the personal assistant to Thomas Scott, who was a superintendent on the Pennsylvania Railroad Company. Thomas Scott suggested that he invest in a company called Adams Express, which became American Express. So it was a good investment. But so he started putting money into shares. His mother acquired the money for him. She remortgaged their house to get the money. And so she had great faith in Andrew, and I don't think I would do that for my son.
Although much of his early investment was with the help from both Scott and the railroad president, John Edgar Thompson, Carnegie was clearly the right man at the right time.
So he's not a maker of things. He's an investor. He's a Warren Buffett. What else is he investing in?
Essentially, it was all to do with the iron industry to start with. So iron rails, iron bridges, and then later in life he discovered that you could make steel more cheaply than you could initially. So then he moved into building steel works.
It's America growing, railroads crossing this huge country. And
Absolutely.
what do they need? They need steel.
Yeah.
But the tough capitalist who formed a vast steel empire to make rails, bridges and then skyscrapers was to surprise the world when during his 30s he started sharing and philanthropy began at home.
The first gift was when he was 38 and he gave Dunfermline the swimming baths, and that was followed by the very first library.
We're talking about a man making his wealth out of steel and iron, but I can't help but notice a big piece of silver in front of us.
Absolutely, yes. This is from the Stevens Institute in America. He gave money to fund the engineering laboratory, and so it was a thank you for his philanthropy.
That's a railway line.
It is.
Right, or a bit of one, I dare say.
And this was inside the casket as part of the gift, so something that Carnegie would appreciate, I'm sure.
See, and of course, I guess these guys here are rolling.
Yes, they're rolling
steel.
steel rails, that's right,
Yeah.
yes.
Education and the arts were amongst the biggest benefactors, with New York's Carnegie Hall becoming perhaps his most famous monument. He was, in many respects, the embodiment of the American dream and, despite evidence of some rather ruthless business practices, clearly a man of noble intent, determined to distribute his wealth so that others might thrive.
He believed in Chartism and that all men should get the vote and that everyone should be equal, treated as equal. Interestingly, he would have people like the king to dinner, and he would have all his Dunfermline aunts and uncles, and they would all sit together at dinner. So he was very egalitarian, I think is maybe the word.
That's Carnegie's roll-top desk.
It is indeed, yes.
That makes you stop and think. And of all things, the desk. It paints this picture of the industrious, the busy man.
Absolutely, and he wrote a lot of books. He wrote Triumphant Democracy and The Gospel of Wealth.
There's an interesting title. Tell me more about that.
Well, in that there's a quote, "He who dies thus rich dies disgraced." Having explained how wealthy you might be, you know, you should get rid of the money. If you keep it, you die disgraced.
Lord.
He was as good as his word, because when he died on the 11th of August 1919, he'd given away about 90% of his fortune and encouraged several others to follow suit.
He gave away $350 million in his lifetime, which is worth billions now. I mean, we say Bill Gates is worth about 53 billion. Well, this was between 100 and 150 billion, you know. So
he gave away?
He gave away before he died, yes. So tremendous amount of money.
And that work continues to this day.
There are institutions spending Carnegie's money at the rate of $150 every minute of every day.
So in a sense, the old boy's still giving.
He is.
Meanwhile, on the other side of the Forth Valley, Catherine's travelled south to Falkirk, a town with landmarks to spare.
Oh, hello.
Hello.
I'm Catherine.
David, pleased to meet you.
David, pleased to meet you. And you're?
Yasmin.
Yasmin, pleased to meet you
Pleased
too.
to meet you.
This is good. This all looks very tidy in here. I hope you haven't tidied up just for me.
It might mean David knows exactly where his bargains are.
Who can play at the Victory V game, Mr. Paul Laidlaw?
Yeah, Paul unearthed a similar tin earlier this trip.
I know he would love that. I know he would love that. It sounds like I'm buying a present for Paul Laidlaw. I'm really not buying a present for Paul Laidlaw.
His was Victory V related as well. Other lozenges are available.
That's quite nice, sort of Austrian, isn't it? You've got like a mountain scene or something.
Mountaineer,
here. I love the shape of the vase. The handles here are lovely. I mean, they're very typical Art Nouveau, which I would say dates this to early 20th century. Right, let's think about that. Can I put that to one side?
Okay.
Catherine's off to a bit of a flyer. While Paul, today's late starter in the shopping stakes, is making his way to South Queensferry, where, in the shadow of this mighty construction, the world's second longest single cantilever span, he's desperately seeking his first retail opportunity.
How you doing? Hello.
Hello.
The Seakist.
Yes,
Right on the Forth.
absolutely.
What a prospect you have got.
Is that looking out or in? Both are appealing.
Reel me in. You've got me.
The clue's in the name.
It's a little marine Aladdin's cave, is it not?
Nirvana for the nautically inclined.
I like your teak books, like, no, the bookends, aren't they?
Yes, yes. And they're actually made from the wood of HMS Ganges.
Oh, is it the brass plaque? It's one of those. That's pleasingly right.
Yeah,
That's not bad work. The last sailing ship to serve as seagoing flagship. And at this point, between the wars, they're breaking up a lot of vessels,
That's right.
relics of the First World War and so on. And there's this industry on the back of that, turning out all sorts of tat, in this instance, not tat, from the ship's timbers.
That's right, yeah.
Yeah, and you've either side, you've a pair of those.
Yes, that's right.
I see a price on those of £55. Slack in that.
Yeah, they could be 40.
Anything for landlubbers?
Oh, I like your dressing table set in lucite. That's a sexy thing.
Very Art Deco.
Oh, any problems with it? No fractures or losses?
There's not fractures. I mean, there's some signs of wear. But you can have a look at it.
Oh, if it's got signs of wear, it's going to be wrecked in, isn't it? Is that an expensive thing?
£45 for that.
Is that your starting price, or is that what...
Oh, that's always negotiable.
On that highly promising note, let us return to Falkirk, where Catherine, with an early 20th century advertising piece under consideration, is still on the hunt.
I love little cabinets like this. I love going to someone's house as well, and if they've got like a little bijouterie table, you can just stand there and look for ages and see all these little wonderful little curios. There's a little knife there, a little sort of fruit knife, pen knife. Now this is interesting. With the little hook like that, it might have been part of a chatelaine or something like that. So perhaps a lady would have had a belt here, and they might have had something like that on hanging down. I just think that's quite pretty. This is actually made from bone. You can see the little flecks there, but the detail on there where you've got the lady's boot right at the bottom there, all the buttons and the hooks, I think is absolutely smashing. And I would say that it's probably early to mid-Victorian.
The ticket price is £42. Could there be a deal afoot?
What is your absolute rock bottom price?
As it's you, I could do it for 32.
Is that going to make a profit at £32?
28. That would be my best.
And what about the tin that we saw? Could that be like silly sort of
That
money?
could be very cheap.
Oh, could it?
Yes. How about if I did you the knife and the tin for 30?
That sounds very tempting.
OK, so that I'm going to say 25.
Okay.
And then your tin, I'm going to say 5. So £30 in total.
£30
Is
for
that
the
all
tin.
right?
Yep.
Put it there, my friend.
Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed. Dave, it has been a pleasure.
Catherine's had a very fruitful day. Things are also looking shipshape beside the Forth.
It's a Soldier Strong box, isn't it?
It is.
Is it dated on the inside? They sometimes have dated plaques on the underside of the lid.
Don't think that one has.
You sure?
No, I'm not sure, because I can't remember the last time I looked at it.
May I?
Yeah.
So the hasp is a replacement. That latch is missing. This one's here. And underneath there is a plaque with a date, 1916.
We knew he'd be right, didn't we?
Well, were you going to try and sell that, or was that heading on the way out the door just to get rid of?
It was propping up a few other things.
Wasn't it just? Now, I'll tell you what, let's park that, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to try and buy something off you properly.
Fine.
And I'm going to ask for that at a pittance thrown in the deal.
Right.
What about the dressing table set you took a fancy to earlier then?
It's lucite, which you and I both know is another term for plexiglass in America, and perspex to you and I.
Yes.
All the same, aircraft windshields, that's what you're looking at. It's a bit missing off it.
Is there?
That's supposed to continue to there.
Right.
That changes everything, doesn't it?
It could do, yes.
Right, a revised price. Cheap.
What did I say? 45, 30?
What?
What were you thinking?
20 quid for that in the box means I might make a wee bit of profit.
I was thinking more 25 for the two.
I bet you were. Any other desirable items we can include in this deal?
What's the story with the tiny little rocking crib? Is there age to that?
Would you like to see it?
That's the first rule of selling, isn't it? Get it into the mug's hand. Arguably, it's a wee charmer. It's too long. Mm-hmm. It's a pretty spindly bairn that rattles a bit in there. How interesting. What's the price on that?
£20?
Oh, it's not a lot of money, is it?
Nope.
It's almost too good to be true, that. Mm-hmm. Because apart from that,
Yeah.
that's got some pattern on it.
Mm-hmm.
A plan is hatched.
Can we do a deal? 3 things. The lucite, modern dressing table set. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. There's a little throwaway steel box. Mm-hmm. And then we've got our little 19th century dolls or toy rocking cradle. I'm going to be brutal and say, I'd like to give you 15 for that. That would make 3 things for £35. Can we do this?
Yeah, I think we can. Yep.
Is that just to get rid of me?
No, not at all. No.
But there's the door, Paul. Nighty-night. Next morning, Catherine's feeling encouraged.
Well, I got a little challenge. I have purchased something which is very similar to what you purchased once upon a time. Mine is bigger, mine is better and more classy.
Did my whatever it was make money?
Come on, do I look stupid? Would I have bought something that didn't make
Fair
money?
enough, yeah.
Catherine is, of course, archly referring to the sweet tin vase she purchased, along with a brooch, a pendant, a penknife, a snuff box and a curling broom.
Or it could be a brush for a very small house.
Those cost £97, leaving her with just under £100 available for today. While Paul's haul included a military strong box, a doll's cradle and a pink dressing table set.
It's the work of the devil, that frivolity.
All for a mere £35. He still has a small fortune of over £357. Not such a moo, eh?
I embraced my feminine side yet again.
Oh, no
My
bags.
newfound
Handbags.
feminine side.
Was it handbags
I
again?
couldn't possibly comment. I think she'll go, not Laidlaw, but I like.
Later, they'll be heading for an auction in Kinbuck. But the next stop is Helensburgh, beside the Firth of Clyde, where, behind some very distinctive gates, Catherine's come to see one of the greatest architectural gems of Glasgow's Charles Rennie Mackintosh. Lucky girl.
Good morning.
Good morning, Catherine.
Hello.
Welcome.
Hello, and you are?
I'm Lorna Hepburn. Yes.
Lorna, lovely to meet you. The moment you walk in, you see a real Charles Rennie Mackintosh statement.
Mixing arts and crafts, Scottish baronial and Art Nouveau, Hill House was designed in the early years of the 20th century as a family home for a Glasgow publisher.
It's quite sort of asymmetrical.
Yes.
And it's not sort of traditional. I mean, is that where we're going in? Is that the...
That's where we're going in.
So that's the front door?
Front door, and lots of people can't find it because they're looking for something grander.
The young architect and designer, whose name is now synonymous with Glasgow style, had just created the School of Art when he received this rare domestic commission.
Isn't it amazing?
Mackintosh believed in architecture as art, and his ideas were given full expression at Hill House.
It's the colours, it's the dark wood, and then that beautiful soft purple.
Soft purples, there's lots of purples, blues. We often think of this space as an enchanted woodland with the trees
The
rising.
trees coming up, you can see that, can't you? All these sort of panels of wood, and it does feel like you're kind of almost in a forest, almost a bit fairy tale-like.
Yes, yes, and the Blackie family did publish lots of fairy tales, and that's a recurring theme.
These distinctive motifs had been developed by Mackintosh during the 1890s while creating the interiors of various Glasgow tea rooms. But just outside the city, his admiration for Japanese simplicity resulted in a more calming, modern space.
Oh my goodness me. In every single corner is simplicity, but real beauty. It's stunning.
People come into this room, they look round, they take in the peace and the tranquility, and then they start to look at the detail. Again, Mackintosh creating an indoor garden in this room, bringing elements from the outside, like the roses, into the living space as decorative features. He wanted to keep his buildings very Scottish, so he's referencing Scottish tower houses, for example, but he's also thinking about creating modern buildings for modern people.
But the architect was not working alone because Mackintosh's greatest collaborator was his wife, Margaret.
The marriage grew out of what had become a very creative and close and intimate partnership. We don't know who did what, but certainly I think they must have been exchanging ideas. But there are items in this room, there are objects in this room which are by Margaret.
And tucked away at the far end of the sitting room is one of Margaret's masterpieces.
That's just breathtaking. It's so beautiful.
The couple contributed to exhibitions throughout Europe, and Margaret's work was especially influential on the artists of the Vienna succession, such as Gustav Klimt.
What is it
It's
essentially?
gesso, which is a mix of plaster of Paris and rabbit glue and all sorts of things, and the colour is dropped on.
But I love this, the style, the technique, this kind of almost like it's being piped with an icing bag, and it makes it look so soft and so romantic as well.
It is very romantic, very appropriate to have the sleeping princess in a house where you have 4 young women growing up.
Yet despite international acclaim, commissions back home proved hard to come by. Within a few years, the Mackintoshes had moved away from Glasgow and all but given up on architecture.
So they didn't quite go down the avenue that they thought they were going to go down.
He was an accomplished artist. He designed amazing furniture. There were lots of avenues he could have gone down, but the architecture one pretty well closed down, partly because of the war and partly because of his temperament and his feeling that he wasn't appreciated, he wasn't understood by the establishment.
Thankfully, the handful of great works Mackintosh did manage to see built are now amongst the country's most treasured buildings. And talking of Scottish treasures, Paul's motored on, taking our route around Gairloch towards Kilcreggan, where at the very end of the Rossneath Peninsula, not only is there an antique shop, but they have a sale on.
Good morning.
Good morning.
How are you doing?
I'm very good. I'm Rue. Nice to meet you.
It is a pleasure to meet you, Rue.
Welcome to Kilcreggan Antiques.
Just like Paul's shop yesterday, this establishment has a view to die for. But what bargains have washed up on this shore?
Right then. You know the drill. Clockwise from the door.
Thorough, as always.
You're shocked and appalled. Because Laidlaw's looking at brass candlesticks.
Well,
Actually, that's not unattractive. But who cares? It's a Victorian brass candlestick.
your point being?
This is not a Victorian brass candlestick. That's George III. That could be the thinking of 100 years older than the aforementioned. How do you know that, Laidlaw? It's the form. That is, we could say, Adam influenced.
He's just warming up.
Now, when this was made, which I suspect would be 1780, brass was more expensive than it is in 1880. And they make these in parts, as opposed to casting that in one, they're actually in two thin halves that are brazed together. And we look for a seam, and that's what you see there. And then we look to the base, and we have a little tongue there, a little tail, and that is a steel wire that is a push eject. Because your problem when your candle burns down is what do you do with the stump? Well, you push here and out it pops.
That shone some light on it.
It's a full period. And nobody cares. Because you know what the problem is? There's still a pair of brass candlesticks. And you stick them in the auction, and the auctioneer sticks them on a table, as we see them here, and everybody's blind to them. People walk past and brass candlesticks, who cares? What do they scrap at the moment? Because they're Philistines. Ignorance.
Crikey.
Price tag on these. Now, £12. And there's every likelihood I may buy them.
Anything else you'd like to get off your chest?
Well, you've got the longbow with the arrow, and you've a couple of African axes. I don't know what the price is. Are you struck on those? Are you flexible?
I'm flexible. To the right buyer, of course.
Promising, but the ticket price is £118.
Shall we go and have a look?
Let's have a peek.
Come on then.
Right.
We have got some form of longbow of indeterminate origin, whether it's South Asian or African. I cannot tell you. It's the nature of the longbow. The axes, on the other hand, we can absolutely assert are African. So we're looking for an honest, aged patina. And do you know what? I think I see it there. I love Ethnographica. It transports me. I am in darkest Africa or deepest South Asia, exploring, and antiques should transport you. And
Well, they
these
should.
do,
Well, they make beautiful wall pieces.
don't they? Now, these would have to be very reasonably priced for me to justify the business transaction.
So are you thinking as a set of three?
I am.
To get more value for you at auction?
My estimate on the three as an auctioneer is £40 to £70.
Right, okay.
So I'd need to buy them south of that.
What
For
are you
it to work.
thinking?
Offer you £40.
Would you go to 45?
45, 45, 45. Yeah,
Done deal?
You did it. You did it.
No worries. That's a good negotiating tool, by the way, when you've got that in your hand.
As is one of those.
I spied a pair of brass candlesticks next door.
Right, okay.
I think they're marked up at £12 at the moment.
Are they the ones that are reduced from 18?
Maybe should I guess?
Georgian, 220 years old.
No, don't listen.
The hidden gem in amongst the rest of the mundane brass candlesticks.
Oh, is that's not fair.
And a keen eye at auction would spot those and grab them very quickly.
Sounds like Paul needs to keep his voice down a bit in future.
You can have them for 10.
I'll give you 5 of them.
Seeing as you went to 45,
Yeah.
you can have them for 5.
Well said, Rue.
You've been brilliant.
So have you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Now, away from all that delightful scenery, Catherine's got a pile of salvage to get stuck into on the outskirts of the city of Glasgow. Get ready to rummage.
Wow, okay. This is a bit different. Wow.
It's a wee bit jam-packed.
Tina's a bit of an upcycling evangelist. Anything that she can save from landfill, she will.
It's piled high.
Oh, yes.
So what about that chair? That little kiddie's chair?
That's a refurbishment job. It's not for sale, I'm afraid.
That's for sale, though.
Love the look of these, love the colour. Very retro. Glad they're not working, actually, because I don't want to give away my weight.
Don't be so vain, Catherine. Wouldn't go into the average bathroom. Anything else inside?
Can I have a little look in your chaotic mess here? Is that
Absolutely.
okay? I like a bit of chaos. You've got this little watch case, and then it's been made into a brooch.
Yeah.
Which is very clever, with lots of different watch parts, and then a sort of feather behind it.
Well, it's if the watch doesn't work anymore, I'll take it apart and use the
Oh, and you did
cogs.
this? Oh, that's very clever. That must take a fair bit of time there, though.
If you pardon the pun. Sorry.
How much is that little silver? It's not silver. How much is that little brooch?
Smooth, Catherine.
Could have it for £8.
Might fit in with the jewellery she bought yesterday. She's already got plenty for the auction, but it's that kind of place.
Oh, these are fun. Ration tins. So these are the days in World War II when the lady of the house would have gone with her little ration book and collected her tins of tea, pre-cooked rice, sugar, and instant coffee. Tina, where did you get these from?
They were from a house clearance, opened up a beautiful vintage suitcase, which had caught my eye, and they were in it.
These were inside?
And they were going to get thrown out. The sweets, they were part of it as well.
Ah, sweeties. They've all gone a bit... ugh.
I don't know if I would eat them.
No. These must be quite rare. How much is the collection?
All the tins, £55. Can I throw in the sweeties for free so they get to go with their friends?
Look quite tasty, don't they? But the brooch is cheap. And what's it made of again?
I'm just looking at it purely because as you turn it over, there are 3 little marks on there. And that tells me that it's silver. What's your very, very best on that?
£6.
Is there any chance you can push it down to a £5 for me?
Will you come back?
I will certainly try.
OK then.
Fantastic. There we are.
That piece of silver salvage completes our buys. But with the auction beckoning, what lot have they got? Paul parted with £85 for a strong box, some brass candlesticks, a dressing table set, some Ethnographica, and a toy cradle. While Catherine spent £102 on a penknife, a curling broom, 2 brooches and a pendant, a sweet tin and a snuff box. What did they make of each other's purchases?
Strongbox, £1. How can he possibly pay £1 for anything?
Victory V lozenge tin, the cheek of it. It was cheaper than mine, and so it should have been, because it's not as good as it.
I don't think there's anything that's gonna fly.
I think she might make profits across the board, but I think after charges she's not. She's going to make a small step again.
I won the last auction. Do you know what? I could do it again. Bring it on.
After setting off from Callander, our experts are now making for an auction not far from where they began, in Kinbuck.
Can you curl? Not your hair, obviously. But have you ever done that?
No, I never have.
I find that mesmerising. And the broom is wonderful.
Show me that action again. It's Olympic.
But what do you think of my curling broom? You're upset that you haven't got one, aren't you?
That's what it is.
They're in tennis territory because Andy Murray hails from nearby Dunblane. But what does auctioneer Struan Robertson think will be a smash?
The penknife is one of my favourite items in the auction today. Something like this in the shape of the lady's boot, it just makes it really different. I think we'll get between £80 and £120 for that. The candlesticks have obviously got a bit of age to them, look like 18th century. It's a shame that one of them are a bit squint, but I think it will go between £20 and £30 today.
Well, Kinbuck's certainly eager for something.
This is heaving.
Even the local wildlife has an interest. Catherine starts off with her lozenge receptacle.
I can't do this,
can I, Paul?
£80. Who'll give me £20? £20 of the tin.
Come on.
£20. 15, 10, then £10 start. Come on, guys. Nice and usual piece here for a tenner. 10 bid there and advancing 10. Advancing £10. Keep it going. Advancing 10, 12.
Come on.
Advancing 12, 14. 14, 16. Advancing 16.
Yes, come on.
Advancing £16. All out and £16 then, ladies and gentlemen.
Take that. I'll take that. It's
Oh, okay, well, we'll take that.
I will take that.
Good start. What about Paul's slightly random choice?
It just doesn't say
I'll
Paul
bid 10 and
Laidlaw.
advancing
If anything, it says Funky Manchester,
All out 24.
London.
Funky.
54,
It's cool.
dressing table set.
It's cool.
Nice little dress. You'll give me £40, 30, 20, £20 then. £20. Come on, guys. Nice set there for £20. 20 bid and advancing 20. Advancing £20, going cheap, 22, 24, 26, 28, 30, 32, 34, 36. Advancing 36.
Nobody got any
Advancing
style.
£36. Still going cheap, guys. Nice set there for £36. All out on £36 then.
It is not cool.
The object or Paul's mature response to profit? How will Kinbuck rate Catherine's little collection?
I'll bid 18 and advancing 18. 20, 22, 24, I need to go to 25, 26, advancing 26, 28, advancing 28, advancing 28 pounds.
28.
Advancing 28, going cheap, guys. 30, and advancing 30, 32, advancing 32, 34, 36, advancing 36, still going cheap. All out and £36 in.
That's really cheap, wasn't it?
A temporary setback, I'm sure. Time for Paul's bargain militaria.
And I'll bid 10 and advancing 10. 12 and advancing 12, going cheap and advancing £12. All out on 12 guys going cheap, 14, 16, 18, 20, advancing 20, 22, 24, advancing 24. All out on £24.
Takes it for margin. That'll do.
That's quite a return.
How can you get something for £1 and turn it in 24? That's magic.
I'd rather have bought it for a tenner and sold it for 240. That would have been magic.
Now, there have already been a few people sniffing around this.
Got a number of bids. I'll start the bidding off here at 20 and advancing 20. Nice wee item here, guys. 22. Advancing £22, 24, 26. Advancing 26, 28. Still going cheap. Advancing 28. Come on, you horse lovers here. 30 and advancing 30. All out on £30 in. Last chance.
I'm happy.
You've got to be happy.
And why not? A fine profit. Paul spent over half of his meagre outlay on these beauties.
I'll bid 30 and advancing 30. Advancing £30, 32, 34. Advancing 34. Advancing £34. Go on, advancing 34. All out and £34 in.
Does that hurt?
His first loss of the trip. Makes it competitive at least. Swift return to form with his cradle.
Nice wee piece here. Been kept in good condition. It's a shame about the wee break at the end, OK? I'll bid 12 and advancing 12. And advancing £12. Come on, guys, going cheap. And
that's gotta
advancing
be 40,
£12 in the
50
rocking
quid.
cradle.
That is
Advancing 12. All out on £12 in the rocking cradle then.
Straight face, Catherine.
Remember all those conversations I've said auctions terrify me because of the uncertainty? I rest my case.
Now, she's already sold a sooty and a sweep on this trip.
How often do these come up?
They never come up because no auctioneer would stick a lot number on one.
Now, this is something quite different.
No emergency.
And the thistle top. I'll bid 15 and advancing 15. Advancing £15 in the broom. 18, 20, 22, advancing 22, advancing £22. Come on, if you don't like curling, you can use it for the floors. Advancing £22, advancing 22. All out in 22, 24, Advancing 24. All out in 24 then. 26. And advancing 26. Advancing 26 pounds. 28. Advancing 28. All out in 28 pounds.
I was actually hoping for a bit more, to be honest.
She smells blood.
Got the ladle nervous twitch.
Jiggle on, because your little bit of bijouterie's up next.
And I'll bid 80 and advancing 80. 85, 90. And advancing 90. Advancing 90 pounds. Still going cheap and advancing 90. All out at 90 pounds then.
That was fantastic.
Just
Where
like
did
that.
that come from?
This is turning out to be another great auction for Catherine.
I didn't even get a chance to get into that. I just kind of... No.
Come on, Kinback. Prove Paul wrong by bidding on his Georgian candlesticks.
Oh, I've got a cool
60, 50, 50 pounds. He'll give me 40 pounds. 40 pounds. 35, 30 then. 30 pounds. 20 start me. 20 pounds the 18th century candlesticks there. 15 then. 10 starts. 10 pounds of the candlesticks. 10 bid there and advancing 10. Going very cheap, guys, and advancing 10. All out and 10 pounds in the candlesticks.
Oh, I didn't lose money.
Over 200 years old. Lordy.
Very good auction. Interesting. Lovely. Want to come back here? When's the next one? Let's go.
Get out of here.
Paul started out with £392.34, and after paying auction costs, he made a profit of £10.12. So he has £402.46. Catherine began with £195.92, and after auction costs, she made a profit of £62. So she wins today and has £257.92.
It's not much, but it's in the right direction, and I beat you, so...
It's no much, it's a... What?
Take me to lunch, driver.
Next on Antiques Road Trip, how to make friends.
Are you tantalised me, Philip?
And influence people.
I wouldn't offer any more than £10.
Are you familiar with the term on your bike?
Oh.
An Indian sword up for auction, and the bids are coming in. Flogget has a grand backdrop in Scotland on BBC Two shortly. Here on BBC One later tonight, the team reopen an old case when a new alibi comes to light. Death impact.